Blanc es doctor en hidrología por la Universidad de Estrasburgo, Francia, y ha sido reconocido por la Universidad de Grenoble, Francia, como asesor de tesis doctorales. Su trayectoria profesional incluye haber sido investigador en el Instituto Nacional de Investigación Científica y Tecnológica para el Medio Ambiente y la Agricultura, ERSTEA, lo que hoy es el RAIN, en Francia. Fue miembro de la Comunidad de Matemáticas y Métodos Numéricos del programa científico ULEFE, Oceanografía y Atmósfera, en el INSU CNRS de Francia. A lo largo de su carrera ha participado en diversos proyectos hidrológicos en países como Costa Rica, Corea del Sur, Noruega, Laos, México. Actualmente se encuentra retirado, pero su legado académico y científico sigue siendo una referencia en el campo de la hidrología. En el marco de este 11º encuentro de estudiantes de posgrado en Agua en México, me complace presentar la conferencia titulada Construcción de simuladores estocásticos del clima. Rainfall Simulation for Assessment of Water Resource Hydrological Hazards. Bien, pues bienvenido a México. It's a pleasure to have you here for our students, for the students, and by the students.
Yeah.
So,
Gracias. Gracias a Ricardo por sus palabras y también a la institución para invitarme. Mi español no es suficiente. Hay motivación de aprender el español ahora. Ya se funciona bien, es interesante, se abre ventanas a un mundo maravilloso, ya es tan diverso. No, okay, but for work, it would be better that I would stick to English, okay? So, I have been invited to talk to you about rainfall simulation, okay? And the idea was to say why, how we do that, and what is the purpose, okay? What are the benefits for us, okay? But then, this talk, I have to recognize that very few of you are interested in rainfall simulation. You are interested in many things with agua, no? But we all are researchers. That is what is common. So something with water, but not everyone with rainfall. So I will sketch out what is rainfall simulation, but I also will try to stress on some aspects of research activity. As research activity is what we have in common, okay? Student, professor, whoever here is interested in this research activity. And we know that in the present world, many people have opinion and they consider this is truth. But research is something else. So I will explain rainfall simulation a bit, but also what is research? How I see it after my professional activity has now ended. So first thing, we all study system. For a hydrologist, a system, it will be a basin, it will be couched. For someone who is in charge of providing water to a city, it will be the water resource system, okay? From the catchment, on other catchment, on then pumping, on then system, on then consumption, on then distribution, on anything like that. If you are an environmentalist, you are interested in the survival of biodiversity, then you will consider the system as this critical zone where all life is going on. It has to be maintained because we have no other planet, okay? So we study some systems, and any one of us has a system to study, okay? So these systems, they are not isolated. Usually, if I study a river, this river is in a basin. This is my system. But I need meteorological information, because the reaction of the system, they are not just from the system. It has to accept signal inside, and there will be a transformation, okay? So, I will not decide to study just the river without considering climate. So our systems we study, they are open. So we have to correctly decide what is the system we study and what are the main interactions between the system we study and the environment around, okay? And now we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, this is a bit small, but the system we study in general, they are non-linear. What does it mean? It is not enough to know the input condition in average. An average rainfall is not what is in the climate of Mexico. You have several months without water, without rain, and several months in summer with a lot of rain, okay? So there is a season, and also there is a day-by-day variability. And it makes an enormous difference to the surface. If you have a regular 2 millimeter, each day you have 2 millimeters, or you have 20 millimeters once in 10 days. It will be totally different for nature. It will be totally different for hydrological risk. It will be totally different for water scarcity or water resources or for cultivation. So, variability in input to the water systems is as important possibly as the average value. We do not live on average value. I need to have my bread every day. It's not enough to deliver me a camion of bread once a year. I need my bread every day. Or I can wait one day if I have a small storage at my home. Okay? It's exactly the same for nature. So, these input conditions for us, we have to control them. Because if the basin is reacting to an input that we do not control, then we cannot understand what happens. So what does it mean to control the condition? It can be measured. This is the first step. You measure what comes in. If you don't have precise measure, you have to estimate it. You will estimate with other rain gauges a bit further or something like that. If you study an event in the past, you want to reconstruct this data. Possibly you have lost the data, or it was not measured because the storm water came between two rain gauges, so you don't really know what happened. So you have to reconstruct that. This reconstruction, it can be a kind of best guess of many possibilities of what may have been. Okay, this is a bit technical. If you wonder how you will survive in the future, it can be something like predicted. I want to know what the next year will be, or what the next 10 days will be. This is prediction. But you also want to build stable systems. So you will try to script everything what is possible in present or future climate, because climate is also to change a little bit. So we want to contribute to the society in an understanding system, and our system can be stable. And to be sure that system can be stable, we have to test our impression of that system under the variability of inputs that can come. In hydrology, we have a lot of very useful traditional descriptors, like intensity, duration, frequency curve to assess what is a strong rainfall for urban hydrology, or climatology regime if you want to understand what kind of crop we can have here, or how much water we have on average. But this is useful as descriptive margin, but it is not enough for complex system assessment. Complex system assessment as non-linear system, they have their life, and if you want to manage your water resource, You have to have kind of way to play with that, or to test if your strategy will be good. Okay, so we can go. Now I am an hydrologist. I have understood that I have to control and simulate my input. And I want to build, say, a rainfall simulator. This rainfall simulator, it is not actual water, it is just number on a computer, no, okay? But depending on my system I study, I can have a stress on different things. If I am working for agriculture, what will be most important is soil humidity for the plant to grow, and possibly also solar radiation. If my concern is about a large river basin, like say Rio Balsas or Rio Lerma, then you want to recognize that there is a sub-basin structure. On each basin has a different life, and they contribute the discharge to the main reach. So there is also an heterogeneous climate, because some parts of the basin they are in the mountains, and other parts are down in the valley, and they do not react exactly the same way. Then, if I am studying a city with an idea of urban drainage, I am still an hydrologist, I am still modeling rainfall, but a city, it will react within minutes to a storm water. Then, my working scale will be smaller. I have to address rainfall not as a resource, but more as intensity in 10 minutes or 15 minutes, something like that. And if I wander for a natural area, well, it has specific biodiversity and climatic trait inherited from ages, and I want to be sure whether this can be at risk if the climate is changing or not, or what we could do possibly to help. So, all these things, it is all rainfall simulation, but as I see, depending on the system will not be interested in the same thing in rainfall. A large basin is interested in the overall quantity on how we distribute in space. A city is interested in how strong the stormwater can be, how intense. Okay. So now we will sketch out several rainfall simulation strategies to address all these kind of topics on scales. So the first way to design, it's possibly the most simple one, is to resample historical local condition. So we will see how it works. You take an historical record over years, and you decide to build a new year as a patchwork of pieces from previous years. So you make kind of patchwork. 15 days from the first year, on 20 days for the third year, on a block of March from the fifth years, and you mix them all, okay? And you will build a new year that is something that has a patchwork of previous years. This is very simple. You just copy-paste, pick that random, not exactly. July, you will stay around June and July. You don't move that much. You will not take 1 month in July and put it in December, no. But about you can change a bit. And you will have a new year. And you can have many, many, many years like that. And if your concern is about the stability of agriculture, as an example, you can see if your crop will be a success 1 year in 10, or 5 years in 10, or 9 years in 10. Okay? So you will be able to address the problem of variability in time of water resource for your crop, given the climate as it was observed. So this is a very simple way to do. It's easy to do. And you can study strategy for local water resource in front of ordinary variability, not extreme, not extreme. So we will see next slide. to have an impression, visual impression, how you do that. Here you have 3 years, I just took 3 years, and we decide I will take this part, I will put it here, I will take this, that part, I will put it here, a bit at random, you know, and you will build a new year, just a bit different. This is the first technique. This can be applied already at license level, no? So this is one first technique. Second technique. Next slide, please. Ah, yes, thank you. Now, this one was a little bit more elaborated, I would say. Somehow it is the name of this strategy. It has occupied me possibly 5 to 10 years. Okay. The first thing is to decide what is a relevant time step for your hydrology. If it is a large basin, a day can be. If it is a smaller basin, an hour will be better. So you have network of rain gauges and you analyze the rainfall for each time step. And you make group of that. You will make group of heavy rain, and group of small rain, and group of dry. So you will make this kind of group classification of time step. So it like a way to understand that. We will have a simulation a bit like lasagna, you know. You will have a lot of time step. On each time step, it is either pasta or meat or salsa. Okay, you will add layers of weather condition, and it will be an history. So to do that, you will analyze this, but you will analyze what is the rainfall in each group, and also how the rainfall kind changes from one time step to the other one. Then you will use this kind of strategy that is Markov chain. Markov chain is to describe successive time step. So if I am in February and it is dry, the most probable for tomorrow it will be dry too. Okay? And if it is very rainy in February, it can be some event, but the most probable is that tomorrow will be dry. If I am in summer and it is wet today, probably tomorrow will be wet anyway. Okay? Because it is summer. So this succession of time step, it is something that will convey the seasonal behavior. Now let us have a look. Next slide. This is how you do. This is your history. You take the statistics for the rainfall for each day. And you say, oh, this was very rainy quite a lot, or this also. And you will make groups. On a group with very strong rain, it is all days that have had a lot of rainfall, on possibly a standard deviation, on a wetness, that is all rain gauges have been wet. On this other day, it was very gentle, a bit drops like that. Okay? So you make groups. Next slide. This is around Paris. We made an application at the size of the Paris area. So you have the Seine River passing by, on some problem about evacuating surface water, possibly polluted to the river. So they wanted to have a rainfall model to address strategy of storing grey water or surface wash water before putting into the river, and possibly treating. Okay, so this is gentle rain. No, there is nearly nothing. Next slide, please. This is a day where it is raining quite a bit more. Okay, everywhere it's. This is another kind of day. On the third one, this is a day where we have heavy rainfall, really heavy rainfall, but not everywhere. It's a bit like here in Mexico, where you have this kind of convective rainfall that is very strong, but possibly not for you, just for your neighbor. So this is a kind of rainfall that we make a distinction of. Let us go on. Here is how we will build our transition. We say, okay, all this day we have rainfall types, and we will build a hidden Markov transition scheme to make this seasonality correct as a mixture, okay? Again, something about cooking. If you take tortilla or frijoles, you can have a variety of different dishes, you know? So it's always tortilla and frijoles, but you cook it different way. So for me, tortilla and frijoles, it is a kind of rainfall. On the recipe, it is this Markov chain. Okay, we continue. So a third model, I was not looking for to make many models. It was my colleague who have seen what I did, and they came to say, okay, but I have a big basin, I have a big catchment, a big river. I would like to simulate rainfall on top of this basin to test strategy for producing hydroelectricity. Okay, why not? But we could try. But your basin is a big one. It starts from the mountain, from 4,000 or more. In Europe, this means ice and snow. Okay? Also, it's totally different from what happens in the valley, where in the valley you have more rainfall at fall, autumn. Okay? And in summer, it is warm, there is a lot of evaporation, and then now the river usually in the valleys they dry out, but from the mountain it is melting. Okay? So there is a heterogeneity. On the sample, the previous one, is not able to deal with heterogeneity. So my way now was to design what I call SIM ABC, Apportazione al Basin del Clima, o como es ABC. It will be a hierarchical parametric model in space and time. The space, it will be sub-basin, and then grid cells. And in time, it will be monthly, then days. So there is two levels. The top model is built as an autoregression for monthly quantities over sub-basin. And when this is okay, we will disaggregate to days on possibly steps. And what will be good? Good will be the large-scale hydrology, how the basin is after 1 month, because the monthly quantity will be about correct. And then there will be added small-scale variability. Let us have a look. Next slide. Here we have a river basin, it is a Rhone river. There is missing the Swiss part. The Swiss colleague would not be happy because I forgot their part. But we have intergovernmental agreement about managing the road. So I was responsible for simulating this, and here you have my simulation target, it is sub-basin, because I am not a meteorologist, I am an hydrologist. And when I go to my colleague at Meteo France, and I said I should want to build a rainfall simulation system that would be good for hydrology, they answer me, please do it. So I do it. So here we have a basin. What do we have as information? We can use all rain gauges that are available and calculate basin rainfall, or we can take the grid cells that are within the meteorological reanalysis. Meteorological reanalysis, you know, it's a kind of memory of what has been in the last 10 years. And I use ERA5 as an example. So it is a huge memory where you have everything reinterpreted as it was to the best of what our colleagues in meteorology are able to build. And it is for download for free. It's very long to do that, but it's for free. It is a gift from the European Commission. So pay by tax and for use for everyone. It is available also for North America. So a preliminary work is to take data out of this grid cells and to interpolate them back to the subbasin, because it will be the subbasin our unit. And this can be done using some variant of Krige in geostatistics. But this is just to build the basic data. Now, I will have a data set with monthly quantity, and I will see what kind of autoregressive vectorial system I can build to simulate by autoregression, multivariate autoregression, all the monthly terms over the basin. And it works. But then I want to go down to daily value. And I will have to disaggregate. This means I want to know what can be the daily temperature, because, okay, there is rainfall, but also temperature. What is the daily temperature given the monthly temperature? So if I had 280 Kelvin, this is +7, but well, it's Europe, you know, a bit cold. Okay, if this was the monthly temperature, the daily temperature is distributed like this with a margin. So I have an idea what is the difference between monthly value and daily value the same month. And this is a disaggregation rules. And it is very simple. If it is very hot, then all day will be quite hot. And in winter, in Europe, when it is very cold, this is below zero, then you can have days that are really very cold and others that are more moderate. Okay? So the average here on the standard deviation gives you a conditional distribution of the daily terms to the monthly terms. And you can build with that. For rainfall, it's a little bit more tricky. Because we know that it is not raining all days. So let us look what we can say. If we have 100 millimeters of rainfall 1 month, I just look at my data. What could be the daily, the fraction of wet days in that month? If I have 100 millimeters 1 month, it is about 60% days will be wet. If I have a month with 500 millimeter rainfall, this is top, it will be about 85 or 90% of days will be wet. So the fraction of wet days is conditional to the gross rainfall of that month. And this again is a way to disaggregate the monthly value into daily values. So red line will be the daily precipitation average just for the rainy days. And we have standard deviation in yellow. It is a daily precipitation standard deviation just for rainy days. At the end, we could provide a simulator for the basin where you have 100,000 years pre-calculated at the monthly level, and you want a year that will be a little bit more rainy than usual or something like that, according to large-scale scenario. What could it be? Then you click on your basin and you will have temperature, monthly value, and this is the daily value for rainfall that you can suggest for that year. And if you go from one basin to the next, still you will have correlation on the large scale and also the value. So we can continue. And now an urban rainfall model that is presently investigated by PhD candidate Silvia Salas in Querétaro. We want to address the urban rainfall risk for a city somewhere in Mexico. Here we know it is convective rainfall. So usually the rainfall is in the afternoon. It will be very strong, and it is mostly dependent on humidity, on stability of the atmosphere. No? This is what triggers rainfall here. So we will again classify days, but we consider the day as a small history of humidity on Cape. And we will try to classify that. The sequence of days will be simulated using Markov processes, but the internal of each day can be studied for local data or atmospheric simulation, using like WRF as an example on example day. We will have a look at what it does. Next slide. Here we have the classification. This is one day. And this is a group of days where we have a lot of humidity, more than here or more than here. And this is a profile of Cape. And this will trigger that all this humidity will fall down in the afternoon. Here we have possibly an extreme case where we had a lot of humidity in the atmosphere, more than here, on the same, about the same profile of Cape that we have in the reanalysis will trigger a very strong rainfall. This is a conditional distribution of rainfall in the afternoon. In some other case, we have humidity in the atmosphere, but for some reason there is not enough Cape, so the triggering effect will not be so strong, and there will be, okay, rainfall in the afternoon, but not that much. Okay? And this is a way to introduce, based on some physics, simplified physics, a daily cycle of rainfall. And here in Mexico, this is, in my opinion, a necessity. I don't want to have a rainfall simulator that will make it a rainfall all the day long. It would be correct for Europe, but not here. Okay, we can continue. So here is an example. In a day, there are 288 steps of 5 minutes. And here we see how the rainfall is changing in the afternoon. This is about the size of Querétaro. And at the end, the rainfall will vanish. Okay? So this is a kind of product that you will have. And you can test your urban drainage system with that for as many years as you want. So now it's by the end of the day, everything is fading out. All above, we just consider stable climate. All the 4 techniques, they are all with stable climate. If we additionally want to consider that not all years are similar because of ENSO, or we additionally want to consider that climate is changing because of greenhouse gases, then we have to make it a little bit more complicated, of course. I could not reach that point. Please, other students, continue. Okay, so we continue. So what will be the use of all these? Again, coming back, for we are all researchers, and we study systems that are dependent systems to the climate. If you have a model for your system, like I will build a dam here, and I will take water from that river, and I will put it in a pipe to Mexico City, or I will pump in the groundwater, something like that. You will build that, you imagine you will optimize that, but you will not optimize it on an average year. You will run many possible years and check that it is stable versus the variety of years you can have. This is the purpose of building stochastic simulator. So we go with that. Next slide. And now, how long do I still have? 5, 10, 15 minutes? I would like to step back from the rainfall simulation to what we all share here. I want to zoom out from rainfall simulation to research activity in general. First, there is something to understand, that physics has the last word. Physics will never negotiate. You can imagine there is water. If there is no water, there will be no water. Okay? So you can make that statistically we should have water. But the reality first. Reality decides. So when we build an idea, picture of the world, we have pieces of knowledge that come from physics, and pieces of information that come from data. And presently, those days, most of our scientific work is bridging observation with data, with knowledge in the physics, and to bring all together in one pot. So this is important. Before I want to study something, I have to recognize I cannot study everything, so I have to stick to the aspects that are important for me. I have built 20 years rainfall models. There have never been an arco-iris, because arco-iris is not important for hydrology. So sorry for that, it's a lack of poetry. But understand that you select what is of importance and you just modelize this. That is rainfall intensity, quantity, seasonality, and no arco-iris. So this selection, it is very important. If you are a student considering to do a PhD, and you do not select the correct things, that you select things that are not relevant, or there are things that are relevant to you, but you forgot it, and your supervisor was not able to say, hey, problem. Okay? Then you may have to start again in a way. So, the aspect to be considered, time and space scale, on the kind of output you want. Of course, do you want scenario? Do you want a statistic? What do you want? In a data scarce context, especially, physics will be a guide. Those people who want to make everything just from data, but who forget common sense on physics, they will crash at some point. All the physics will be implicitly there because the data is so dense, but usually we don't have so dense data. So to interpret data correctly, we need to have a view of what is the physics of our system. And whatever your topic, you will have this kind too. So physics is a guide, and it will anyway improve the realism in our system. I was not able to make a rainfall simulator that would rain in the afternoon only, unless I consider humidity on K. Okay, and this is physics. Good. Something about a dissertation topic in your master or your doctorate. You have to write a book and you have a title that you should study that, okay? And you say, this is to push me to this direction. Not only. It is to protect you against all other interesting things that you do not have time to study. It's not your responsibility. It's interesting. You take whatever student starting a PhD or starting a master, after 1 month he said, oh, there is this and this and this and this and this, I should study that and that and that and that and that. Okay? No, but okay, everything is interesting. But please, one thing at a time. You concentrate on your topic. It is to stimulate you, but also to protect you. Other things another student will do, or you later. So this is very important. And you see, when I started my first Rainfall simulator, it was this simple resampling. People said, you don't have the spatial pattern. Yes, okay, I will do that. And then I did sample with a spatial pattern. And people say, but your area is homogeneous. What if it is a big basin? Okay, next time. And then they say, you have convective rainfall in your system? No, I don't have. Okay, but one motivated student will help me. Okay, so one problem at a time. So everything that is interesting, you will refer to it in your dissertation. It can be in the introduction before the main topic is chosen. It can be in the discussion as a limiting factor. I have done this, but I have not looked at this aspect that should be taken in consideration someday. In perspective, it seems advisable. Yes, I agree, it is interesting. Another should study that later. So, if you see doors in your study, you may open one or two, but not all doors, or you will get lost. Next slide. Now we know that there are good days and bad days in science. There are days where what you want to do, it does not work. The program gives stupid results. The plant is died out, you have to plant another one to continue your field experiments. Or 1 week, nothing, but there was this EEPA, I had to attend stupid talk all the day, I could not work on my PhD, okay? So you have these kind of things. It may be several days that you do not make a progress. Don't be afraid. What is good is to understand that it is good enough if each week you made a progress on something. A bit of bibliography, correcting that code, and now it compiles and give a result that seems to be interesting. Now I got a facility to have my crop, experimental crop code. So at the time step of a research, it's not day. You have not success all days. But it's good that you have a small success each week and you enjoy your weekend. Okay? If you have difficult points, remember, as we do here these 2 days, to discuss with colleagues. I have this kind of problem. How do you cope with that? Okay? Because we are all looking, searching, trying, okay? We are not alone. We have colleagues. Colleagues first work on their own stuff, but they can discuss with you. And possibly they have good ideas. Some risk factor on dependency. When you want to build a rainfall model, and you go to the French Meteorological Office, and you say, I would like to use this database to build a rainfall model. And they will tell you, oh, don't use that database. We have a better that will be ready after a few months. Okay. You say, okay, this is a promise. If it happens, I will use it. But I have to start now. So don't wait too much for the other to do their promise. Work with the data you have, and that can be available now, because you have 1 year for your thesis, if it is a master. You possibly have 3, maximum 4, 5 years for a doctorate. So you cannot wait that other institutions have solved everything. You have to progress with the material you have. So be happy if you have help from download the data, but don't wait too much. This may be just a discourse. Okay, we continue. Writing. Oh. Writing is time consuming. On technique, the technique how to write is also important. Can you guess? The two first, the Sampo is published. Sim ABC is not published. Many people use it, but it is not published because I have no time to write it. And now I am discussing with a younger colleague that she will take over and try to continue publishing. Okay? Writing is time consuming, it's painful, and it's not so funny. So what can help? What can help? First, use one single tool. It can be Word, it can be LibreOffice, it can be LaTeX if you are fan, but please know your tool and do not change. You may meet one colleague or a professor who say, oh, use LaTeX because Word will change and then you are lost. LaTeX is better. Okay, in principle, yes. If you use LaTeX and someone, your professor wants you to have it in Word because so that he can make corrections, then you will switch between LaTeX and Word and you will lose time with that. Choose one tool and keep it. Then, okay, and make your backup of your PC, no? Each day. Now, you want to write. You have a story to tell. It was a story of your research. But we all know that research is difficult. You want to explain to someone what you have found, why you did it, how you did it, and what are the results. We all know that you had difficulty, but it's not that interesting to the reader. So first, one theme, one chapter, one idea, one section. First, list your idea freely, organize them in a logical sequence, and then write. First, if you come stuck to writing an idea at some point, because I forgot to say, okay, you forgot to say. So please go at the beginning and put what you forgot to say. Then it will be simple to write. If you get stuck, it is that you have forgot something before. Another example, another point. You're thinking, you have lost thought about it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So you have been complex and hesitating. But the reader wants to know where to go. He loves, the reader who loves you, but he does not want to hesitate as much. So just tell what is working at the end. Okay, a little bit what was the option, and then what you have decided on how it works now. So the reader do not want to know all the steps you did. Go to what is worse, because writing is transmission. Transmission of the good recipe, not all the attempts, not the cake that was burnt because the oven was too hot. Okay? Don't confuse hypothesis. You have a stress on hypothesis in Mexico. I noticed that. Hypothesis, you have to write. Okay. Hypothesis is something that is either true or false, and your work should say if it is true or false. You also have simplifications. Simplification is something that is probably false, but needed to continue work. Please accept it. Or write it as such. Write it as such. You don't want to hide your simplification. You just tell it. And the one who is able to go better, he will do that. One question is, who will help and who will read? Usually you have not only one supervisor, but you have 2 or 3 or 4, and they all discuss all the time. And one supervisor say, this you should write longer, and the other say, this you should write shorter, okay? And you should write differently, or something like that. So you can get confused. You have to know your supervisors. What this supervisor is good at that. I will ask him his opinion about that. The other supervisor is fond of clean language, on a nice picture, and so I will request help from him on that. Okay? Know your supervisor to distribute work to your supervisors. Okay? So that they will help you at their best. And be confident to your reader, your future reader. He is benevolent and he is clever. Or she is. So you have to tell them everything, but you don't have to make it long. You have to just say what is important and they will understand. And you can trust that they are willing to see your progress in science and they will be happy for that. Okay? So don't be afraid of your reader. The reader is interested in your topic. You don't have to convince, you have to explain. Okay? So it may help to think to your reader as a real person, likely a friend, some student in the future that needs to understand what has been done, so that he can continue or she can continue. On these techniques, they are also good when writing papers, after or beside the thesis itself. Then, the question of truth on science, it's presently, it was obvious before, and now it's a bit of not so obvious. Truth in science, it is a provisional result of an approach that is based on data. These data can be rare and has to be interpreted finally. If you have case study, experiments, then you have to be very clever to see actually what is going on. If you have more data, numerous data, you can go to statistical or quantitative analysis. And if you have physical insight, you can use a numerical based model also. They bring some contribution. So the truth in science, it is the provisional result of all these sources of information that are brought together by you in a discourse that is based on some kind of external things. It's not your opinion. An opinion is not truth. Okay? So you know that. So presently we have to take care of this way of deciding. It is not an option that someone who is just powerful in the society will decide what is the physical truth. Okay, so we have to take care about this because it is a risk for all of us. So it is good when you bring your conclusion to have an impression what is a part of your conclusion that is coming from, obviously from the data, with simple interpretation, so obvious it is, or you have to inject physical thinking, or it is a clever statistical analysis who brought it. Okay, how you build your results, this is quite good. On the discussion at the end of your work is to compare the result you acquire with previous results, and to mark novelty, whether it be confirmation or contradiction to what other people have published. In all cases, the vision of the process is that you are studying your knowledge of your basin, your knowledge of your crop, your knowledge of your engineering system. It will guide your protocol for data collection. And if you have missed something, then you have to go back. This is a problem. Once I listened to a young colleague who was presenting his view for his PhD. He had 20 steps in the future, and he knew perfectly at what date it will have finished each step. And well, I was just laughing, because when you work, you see that this works quicker and this does not work so quickly. Okay? So, but anyway, we have a view where we are going on, and we work according to that. I will skip that one. Oh, no. Some of you may like computer calculation very much. We have to understand what it is. Computer for a researcher, not for an engineer, not for an administrative. For a researcher, it's like a mirror of your ideas. You explain to your computer, and the computer tells you what are the results of your what you have explained, and you will say, oh, I forgot that. Okay? And we all know that, okay, we forgot to take this into account. The result of my calculation are stupid because I missed 1 point. So the help that the computer gives to you in a research process is that you are able to code inside what you have understood, and it gives you back the consequences. It's like a mirror of your ideas. To me, this is important. And it's only at the end of the process that you may have a model of your Bayesian, but this is a detail. This is a byproduct. The most help is to help you think. And okay, bibliography, this is well known, so we will skip it to save some time. Is there more? Next? No, I will. Okay. Freedom for research. This is a bit of personal. A scientist has a right to choose his or her point of view on method. And it also has a duty to listen to the critical thinking of colleagues who will suggest this or this aspect to possibly improve his or her contribution. So you have freedom, but you have duty to listen and try to see if this is relevant and can help you, or decide random. Okay, this is how to interact. And in many universities now, we have an obligation to publish before you are able to defend your thesis. I am in the opinion that this is dangerous, because you are pushed to have results, to be able to publish, and you don't have even time to reflect. You have to write a paper, one after 3 months, one after 1 year to go to the second year, one after second year to go to the third year. And if you don't have 3 papers, you will not defend your manuscript. I know students who are in trouble because they want to publish good papers, they want to think before. It's not enough to send a paper on money to some rubbish journal to have it published. So to me, this is dangerous. And the fault is not yours. If to defend your PhD, you have to submit some approximate things in a second round journal because the university wants that, okay, try to see if you can publish better, something that you could be proud of. If not, you will do it to have your okay, because this is the fault is not yours, the fault is to the university, who request some pressure to publish before you have anything to say. So this is personal point of view. Some other colleagues, also at my institute, suggest that this is good discipline, to try to publish. And I agree, try to publish. But you cannot guarantee the result in a scientific work. So to me, this is dangerous. And, okay. So there should be no regret about acquiring scientific skill. Scientific domain-dependent science, technique, mathematics, computing, so biology, also social science, of course. Sorry, I speak from ideology background, but I deeply understand the need of other approaches. Managerial skills. This is a bit later, okay? A bit later, when you are after your PhD, you start a scientific career. Some manager, they lead a group And they are good at that. But it is a service they do. It's not priesthood, they are not different from us. They just take this task for a while. Okay? As scientists, the solidarity between researchers must go beyond their practical rivalry. We all want position, we all have our favorite topics. And locally, we benefit from uniting to build common objects, okay, to discuss. And also the intergenerational solidarity is essential. If you consider teacher, professor, when they were young, it was very difficult for them. They had the same problem as you have. So they can remember, okay? Now they are possibly a little bit more experienced, they know where to go, a little bit. But it's not for authority, it is experience. But basically, we are all looking for. The best thing a professor can do for you is to invite you to sit and look at how I see the problem. This is not you should do like that. No, this is how I see the problem. How do you see that? Okay? So what was published on something about references. All what was published long ago sometimes is old, is not contextualized to today's problem, on today's knowledge, on today's tools. So of course the professor who makes a reference in a paper 20 years old, he was quoted when and you have to pay respect because he was a pioneer in that. Possibly the situation has changed a bit, the technique has changed a bit. You don't have to find exactly the same because the world has changed. So never forget, this is my last slide, the opportunity to work for 1 year or even several years on a single topic without too much administrative activity to decide. This is great. Take advantage of your time in master studies, take advantage of your time in doctoral studies and enjoy it.
Gracias, Etienne. Bien, pues vamos a dar un fuerte aplauso, por favor, al doctor Etienne. Creo que esta ponencia nos invita a reflexionar bastante, no solamente en el desarrollo de herramientas, sino de la vida que como científicos vivimos, todos en algún punto, como estudiantes, como profesores jóvenes o profesores avanzados en experiencia. Entonces, muchísimas gracias, Etienne, por compartirnos toda esta presentación. En verdad, muchísimas gracias. Y a continuación vamos a abrir un espacio para preguntas donde podamos profundizar sobre los temas tratados. No sé si alguien tenga alguna pregunta que guste realizarle al doctor Etienne. Por favor, adelante.
Si no, I'm disponible aquí en las aulas los 2 días. ¿Okay?
Thanks for your presentation. I want to ask, how effective are statistical models in capturing the spatiotemporal variability of hydrological extremes? For example, fluids, droughts, using atmospheric reanalyzed inputs.
I'm sorry. My English is Franglish and your is Spanish. so try again.
Okay. How effective are geostatistical models.
How they work? How they work?
How it works, but with spatial-temporal variability,
Yeah. Okay.
with hydrological issues, for example, with floods.
Okay, okay. About extreme insert.
Okay, yeah.
Take that. Just one at a time, I think, for the mics. Yeah.
Okay. The extreme there is a branch of statistics that deals specifically with extreme. So extreme value theory. And you will have such tools like Copula and such things on to simulate a rainfall that will respect extreme distribution, really high. It's a bit of difficult. Okay? These rainfall simulations are mostly efficient for ordinary variability from 1 to day. Okay, there will be higher rainfall, there will be lower rainfall, but you will not have a hurricane. Okay? You will not have it. Possibly, if you have rainfall data of some hurricane style rainfall, they will gather to a group of, okay, and it will appear sometime in August or something like that. So, yes, I am an hydrologist, and I like the ordinary variability, and I consider that the extreme, it is like the peak of a mountain. If you know where is the mountain, it's already good. Then possibly the peak is somewhere here. So, if you are just interested in the peak of the mountain, you lose a lot of information about ordinary variability. So if you are not able to find the mountain, you will not find the peak. So my preference, but it is taste matter, it is to find the mountain and then to check that the extremes are about correct. This is to make it simple. Okay? But you can have a statistician coming to tell you that all what you are doing is rubbish because it is Gaussian distribution at the core, and Gaussian distribution don't have a correct behavior for extreme. Okay? So you can have this kind of definitive statement from a colleague coming to you, and then you will like, okay, and now what shall I do? Okay? So, do you prefer to have a car that is running a little bit like that, or a project for a very extreme vehicle that will never exist? So, let us see.
Thank you again. ¿Alguna otra pregunta? Es que pensé, están cruzando los idiomas.
If not, I'll continue to answer this.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one there.
Okay.
Thanks, Kim. My question is, what are the main limitations for hydrological modeling, especially when you don't have base-rounded observations? Is there limitations or what?
Limitation of data? Limitation
Yes,
of
but especially when
power?
you don't have the observations.
Yes.
Okay. Usually, presently, we have some local data on a lot of background data. If you go to a specific place, you will look for rain gauges on local data. And this is very important. But possibly the rain gauge, it has worked since the university has started the project. So you have a few years. And you have two rain gauges, and you have a discharge measurement facility that has worked possibly just 1 year, or something like that. And you have all studies that give some figure, but you don't know where it was actually taken. This all is local data. And you have background information like this kind of ERA 5 or North American reanalysis data that give you a kind of background information, how the climate, the weather has been all over 20, 30, 40 years. So possibly the pixel is very big. The pixel is too big, but the time resolution is very good. So one part of nowadays data management is to bridge between background data and local data, to extend in a way your local data with proxies that are given by public services. Okay? This is a preliminary step to recognize that your local data can help you for some studies, but not for all, and especially not for long term. For long term, you have to look for background data. On an answer about extreme. Just quickly. You will have an extreme flood if your basin is wet and you have a strong rain on top of that. Okay, this means you must have rainfall in the last day, but also in the months before. So if I want to study an extreme in hydrology, usually it is a multi-scale extreme. It is heavy rain coming on the surface that has been wet over time in the previous weeks, or possibly because we are in the wet season too. So you have to study 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, all together. So the statistician who comes with an idea of extreme value theory, who will say, okay, it is a compound extreme that I am studying. And this builds up with a model like the SIM ABC, where we are monthly about correct and daily about correct, and both together we are able to build extremes. Okay? Choose the scale that is relevant to you.
Okay, bien. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for listening to me. It was a pleasure. And I went a little bit further than just a technical talk, because you try to see what is research will be. I try to see what research has been. So there is some experience, not authority, just experience.
Ok, bien, pues muchísimas gracias, Etienne. También va a estar aquí Etienne por estos 2 días, chicos. Si pues, tienen alguna pregunta, alguna inquietud, con mucho gusto pueden acercarse a preguntarle. Por cuestión de tiempo, para concluir esta intervención, le voy a ceder la palabra al doctor Carlos Roberto Fonseca Ortiz, quien en su calidad de encargado del despacho de la dirección de nuestro instituto hará entrega de la constancia que acredita esta destacada participación y que a la letra dice: Universidad Autónoma del Estado de México, a través del Instituto Interamericano de Tecnología y Ciencias del Agua, otorga la presente constancia al doctor Etienne Leblanc por su participación como ponente en el trabajo.
Okay, thank you very much.
As a gift of the institute, this is that.
Okay, there is not only rainfall in Mexico, there is a lot of nice things. And Mexico es un país más bonito, con mucha cultura, no solo números y computadores. Merci. Merci.
Two-Way Mix. Administración 2025-2029.